Dos a dos.
Back to back, back to back.
Back to back.
Beaucoup.
For years, PSG were football's biggest contradiction. They had the money, they had the stars, they had the attention, but when the biggest moments arrived, they always fell short, but not anymore. This is the PSG Luis Enrique has built, and it's scary good. One superstar controlling a bunch of stars.
Remember what you said when Neymar left, Kylian left, Messi left, Donnarumma now. But I'll go back to the before. You said we will be okay. And people were like, what do you mean we will be okay? This guy behind you right now, why is he so special? Is it why you said we will be okay? Because of Luis Enrique?
I think you have pleasure to work for him, to be coached by him. And I think he's the main character of this team.
He's the conductor, but the show is the team, right?
Nowadays, I think we proved it many times, but I think you can see it. There's a lot of competitive. It's very difficult to play. So if you don't have 11 players that want the same thing in attack and in defense, it's difficult.
Because just in case anyone hasn't figured it out yet, it's exactly what this PSG team is about.
This has been their plan for so many years, and now they've finally achieved it with a team dynamic and not individual superstar.
The group, not one person, not one superstar, a group of stars. And now the dust is beginning to settle on the second Champions League trophy for the Parisian Giants. There's a looming question that's almost too scary to ignore. What if this isn't the end of PSG's story? What if it's only the beginning?
We have to stay humble also. It's crazy. We're gonna enjoy first, and after we're gonna work again, because we want more. We are the hungry, we are a young team, and we know we are really ambitious, so next season we have to go again.
See, when most teams win the Champions League, the challenge is always to win it again. Before this final, only one team had ever won the Champions League in back-to-back seasons since the competition was rebranded in 1992. Make it two now. But you see guys, what makes this even better isn't just that they won a second Champions League title, it's how they won it. This picture seems like an advanced French version of Sport the Difference. It's basically the same team, and yet, at the same time, it's not the same team. These players involved. Luis Enrique made a big bet on one positional change. He showed a different side to what this PSG team can be. And now, the mission is simple.
We are going to follow the same line. We don't need a lot of players because there is very difficult to find the right players to play in our team. We feel clearly the way and the path that we want to follow, and
to win again and again and again. But to understand why PSG suddenly looks capable of dominating European football, we have to go back to where this transformation really started. For years, PSG followed a similar trend. They had some of Europe's most experienced and promising coaches, from Carlo Ancelotti to Laurent Blanc, Thomas Tuchel, Christopher Gaultier, Mauricio Pochettino. It was an era of players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Ezequiel Lavezzi, and Edinson Cavani, to the famed era of Neymar, Kylian Mbappe, and Lionel Messi. In between, they had proven players, Angel Di Maria, Marco Verratti, Ander Herrera, to start domestically. And so after winning back-to-back League One titles, Nasser Al-Khelaifi and the Qatari Sports Group had set out on a 5-year target for PSG to win the Champions League. Ironic, because by 2017, the club had reached an all-time low in the same competition. They were on the wrong side of history. That epic comeback Barcelona pulled off at the Nou Camp, the European collapses continued. Even after superstar names like Neymar and Mbappe arrived, it wasn't until 2020, during lockdown, that PSG made its first Champions League final, but it ended in heartbreak. And somehow after that, they regressed. 2021, they were in the semi-finals. In 2022, after assembling one of the most insane transfer windows in the game's history, with Lionel Messi, Sergio Ramos, Gianluigi Donnarumma, and Georgino Wijnaldum all joining the club in one window, they failed to make it past the round of 16. They were knocked out in the same stage a year later, and finally, Nasser Al-Khelaifi had seen enough. The project was on the verge of collapsing. Messi left that summer, same with Neymar. But looking back at it now, the headline move wasn't a major departure, he was a quiet arrival. But just before we get into who exactly this quiet arrival was, at Football Armageddon, the goal is to bring you quality in-depth videos in the game like this. And in turn, we're only asking that you hit that subscribe button to the channel and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks. Luis Enrique had arrived with a completely different idea. Rather than buy superstars, he wanted to buy stars who would in turn buy into his idea.
Fútbol de ataque, fútbol que pueda ser divertido para el aficionado y sobre todo fútbol que consigue bueno.
It's very important to understand what the difference here is. Luis Enrique didn't need superstars. He didn't need egos. He wanted workhorses. He made that very clear with one superstar in particular.
Yo te he dicho que te gustaba Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan cogía de los huevos a todos sus compañeros y se ponía a defender como un hijo de p***. Tú tienes que dar ese ejemplo Primero como persona y como jugador, de ir a presionar y volviendo rápido. ¿Para qué? Para ser un líder. Claro, tú eres un fenómeno, un top mundial, ninguna duda. Pero yo no me vale eso. Un líder de verdad es que cuando no nos puedes ayudar con los goles, tú nos ayudas en todo el ofensivo. Líder.
Yes, they've won 2 Champions League titles. Yes, they've won back-to-back League One titles. But this right here, this moment with Mbappe, is the moment that changed PSG's history. In that sit-down interview with PSG's former number 7, Luis Enrique showed him the new look of the PSG blueprint. It wasn't enough to just wait for opportunities and score goals. Luis Enrique wanted soldiers who ran for the cause, who gave everything, defend from the front, chase every ball. Rather than become a superstar, he wanted a collective unit. Kylian Mbappe had his heart set on Real Madrid. He left that summer. Luis Enrique's game plan entered full motion. By the summer of 2024, Luis Enrique had his blueprints. That era of PSG having so many superstars was over. Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, they were all gone. To many, they felt like PSG won't be able to survive without these guys.
Losing a player like Kylian, not only for Paris Saint-Germain, but what Paris Saint-Germain has been doing for French football has been amazing. But losing Kylian is massive. It is really.
It's exactly the kind of idea Luis Enrique wanted. See, the difference isn't that PSG didn't spend on getting replacements. It's again down to the superstar thing. Rather than follow the traditional approach of signing big names, Luis Enrique added in key areas to the squad. Desiree Doué, William Pacho, João Neves. Kvaratskhelia later joined the club in January from Napoli. Matvei Sophanov from Krasnodar. On first glance, the only real major signing was Kvaratskhelia, the 2022-23 Serie A player of the season with Napoli. In hindsight, however, Luis Enrique had built a PSG system with a unique trait that was ready to take over Europe, but it almost didn't happen. By January of 2025, PSG had to go through the Champions League playoffs in the new format after failing to directly qualify in the new group league phase. They suffered damaging defeats to the likes of Arsenal and Atletico Madrid, but it was just a blip. By that same month, PSG had entered full motion. Suddenly, the results started to rack up. They beat Brest 10-0 on aggregate in the playoffs. In the round of 16, they took a big scalp, knocked out a Liverpool team that had won every game up to that point in the competition. In the quarterfinals, they eliminated Aston Villa 5-4 on aggregate after a nervy second leg. In the semis, they exacted revenge on Arsenal for that group stage defeat. A 1-0 win at the Emirates and a 2-1 win at the Parc des Princes. They won on aggregate. PSG had made it to its first Champions League final in 5 years, the first under Luis Enrique. They faced an Inter Milan team that had eliminated tournament favourites Barcelona in the semis. Inter had been in 3 European finals in the 5 years since PSG last reached the Champions League final. They had one of the meanest defences in Europe. This looked like being a close game, a tough final. Luis Enrique picked that final to show Europe and the rest of the world exactly what this PSG team is about.
Now they come once more, and Dembele's got Kvaratskhelia in, and he's bearing down on goal, and it's 4-0.
To win a first Champions League final is one thing. To win a first Champions League final with 5 goals, to win the way PSG did, the system, simply sensational. It made no sense because only Luis Enrique could see it. Mbappe gone? No problem. Rather than get a recognized striker, Enrique changed the setup to a system effectively compromising of 3 wingers. 4 on rotation. He moved Ousmane Dembele centrally. Genius masterstroke. Dembele's ability with both feet allows him to easily operate in central areas and get shots off easily. At the same time, Enrique had brought out another aspect of Dembele's game that many failed to realize he could do. Press like a possessed demon. Non-stop pressing. Why? Because Dembele, like the others, knew if he didn't run, he wouldn't play. It was just as exciting down either flank. Kvaratskhelia and either Desiree Doué or Bradley Barcola did not have a fixed position. 1 minute either could be on the left, the next one on the right. They popped off centrally. They came deep into midfield to receive the ball. They both tracked back to help fullbacks. They stayed wide to take on fullbacks and provide width. They stayed in half spaces. The Enrique used this front 5 setup. They made Gonzalo Ramos, the traditional number 9 the club had acquired in Enrique's first season, didn't play. Gonzalo Ramos did play. He did score goals. In midfield, it was arguably even more impressive. Just under 4 seasons ago, Vitinha was struggling with Wolves in the Premier League. At the end of the 24-25 season, he became the best midfielder in Europe. João Neves had transformed from talent at Benfica to a linchpin at PSG. He could do everything and play everywhere. Whereas Zaire Emery added even more legs to a PSG midfield that covered everywhere. Fabian Ruiz with technical ability. Then the fullbacks, Hakimi and Nuno Mendes. See, the best part about these two was how they were defensively as good as they were offensively. The pairing of William Pacho and Marquinhos was a mix of ball-playing centre-backs with defenders who knew how to defend. PSG had finally conquered Europe. The first Champions League title proved that Luis Enrique's ideas could work. The second proved it wasn't luck. Cue last summer. PSG had a mixed postseason. They participated in the new edition of the Club World Cup and got into the final only to lose to Chelsea. It was excusable. Amongst other things, they played a total of 65 matches across all competitions. Simply put, that team was tired. And so heading into the new season, the energy was fresh. The task for Luis Enrique was the same, to repeat the trick. It's one thing to win the Champions League. As stated earlier, only one team had ever won it in back-to-back seasons in the modern era. Luis Enrique's tasks look like getting even more complicated in the weeks before the transfer deadline ended.
Financially, Donnarumma was making a lot of money on an old type of contract, the ones that the club doesn't give anymore. Now they tend to do low wages and then a lot of incentive to go much higher. Donnarumma is still on the old one where you have high wages and that's it pretty much. And Donnarumma didn't want to change that really. He was happy with that kind of structure for his contract, but just wanted a bit of a pay rise. PSG were not really ready for that. They went back and forth, and in the end, PSG said, listen, we're going to go somewhere else. They signed Lucas Chevalier, who's younger, better with the ball at his feet in his distribution.
Goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma wanted a new contract, but it wasn't just that he wanted a new contract. He wanted better pay, more wages. This was the system of the old PSG. Another Luis Enrique was about the collective. PSG eventually sold Donnarumma to Manchester City. The problem now was that Luis Enrique had the title to defend and had now lost arguably the best goalkeeper in Europe. It was basically the same team until Luis Enrique showed the world just how deep this team could go. Think about it like this. In the 2024-25 season was PSG showing the world the attacking powers of that dynamic front four. The 2025-26 campaign was about showing the world what this team could do defensively. For the second successive year, they failed to qualify directly in the top 8. They made it to the round of 16 after beating Monaco 5-4 on aggregate. They then beat the reigning Club World Cup champions Chelsea, the same team that had beaten them 3-0 in the final months earlier. They beat them 8-2 on aggregate, beat Liverpool 2-0 home and away to complete a 4-0 aggregate win. But the real drama was in the semi-finals when they faced Bayern Munich. And it's important to pause the video right up to this point. PSG 2025-26. So far, they showed they knew how to play, particularly against the big English teams. Liverpool beat them last in Paris. This time, they did a clean home and away job against Liverpool. But Bayern Munich was a test like nothing they'd ever faced. This was billed as the final before the final. Bayern's attack of Harry Kane, Luis Diaz, and Michael Olise was the scariest and most productive in Europe's top 5 leagues. The players like Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka in midfield, Manuel Neuer still performing wonders in goal at 40. This Bayern team had become so good that they'd been tipped to win the competition even ahead of the defending champions. And so when both teams set out for the first leg at the Parc des Princes, even though they'd met earlier in the competition, this one just had the feeling of a heavyweight clash between two of Europe's best teams. But nothing, absolutely nothing would have prepared anyone for the 19 minutes that unfolded next. It rained goals, spectacular goals at that. Kvaratskhelia with a crawler, Michael Olise with a banger. PSG eventually ran out 5-4 winners, and this was step one of what Luis Enrique wanted to show the world.
Luis Enrique, firstly, congratulations. 9 goals in 94 minutes. I don't have any words. Maybe you can summarize for us what just happened.
It was amazing. Yeah, I think the best match I've ever managed as a coach. Amazing rhythm.
After the game, he called it the best match he'd ever managed as a coach, but it was a warning to Bayern Munich and the rest of the competition. This PSG team could do everything. Even when it came to going toe-to-toe with the most productive attack in Europe, in that first leg, they showed they could outscore Bayern, something that seemed almost impossible, particularly this season. Then the second leg came. If the first leg was about scoring goals for PSG, the second was another lesson from Luis Enrique. Honestly, this one has to make you respect the man and his team even more. It was a tactical masterclass down to the T. Many will just say a 1-1 draw, but the truth is PSG came to the Allianz Arena and showed they could nullify that Bayern attack to almost nothing. From executing a game plan that nullified Bayern's biggest chance creation threat in Michael Olise, to playing as effectively as they could to stretch the game, PSG silenced the Allianz Arena. They made it to a second consecutive final, and then that night in Budapest. At this point, the stars had really become a collective. It was the same last season. The only difference is that Ousmane Dembele's output had made him become the face of that PSG team, and ultimately led to him winning the Ballon d'Or. This season, it was hard to pick just one face. Leading up to the final, Kvaratskhelia had scored or assisted in every game in the knockouts. Lethal. Dembele was still scoring goals, still providing assists. But leading up to the final as well, Vitinha had already broken Xavi's record for the most passes in a single Champions League campaign, which stood at 1,299. William Pacho had emerged as one of the best centre-backs in Europe. Hakimi, Bruno Mendes. No player had more presses and pressures of opposition defenses per 90 than Desiree Doué. It was hard to pick one because it was just a collective. The same team had gotten to Budapest. It wasn't necessarily their best game of the season in the final, especially after they went behind early. Kai Havertz put Arsenal in front just 5 minutes in. But the crazy part, it did not faze that PSG team. Even when they were behind, they still maintained the game plan. They continued trying to find inroads. Arsenal's no block became a negative one. At one point, he was watching a 7-1-2 formation from Arsenal with all outfield players all coming back to defend. But in the second half, Kvaratskhelia forced the issue and found a way. Penalty to PSG. Ousmane Dembele stepped up and duly converted. Boom! 1-1. It could have been more. Vitinha came close. Then Bradley Barcola had a chance to close the game, but he sent his efforts wide. He continued in the same direction in extra time, and he had to go to penalties. Both teams missed one each, but the deciding moment was Gabriel's fifth spot kick. He had to score to send the game to sudden death, and he blazed over. Euphoria, Allez les Paris, PSG had done it. They'd won back-to-back Champions League titles. Luis Enrique in two seasons had achieved what no French manager had achieved in the club history. This group was special. Everyone watching could feel it. And in the midst of those celebrations, one of their golden talents dropped a glimpse into the future.
And after we're gonna work again because we want more, we are really hungry, we are a young team and we know we are really ambitious, so next season we have to go again.
Do not for a second think this French mission is over. The conquest is on, to become what only Real Madrid has been, to win 3 Champions League titles in a row. You wouldn't put it past them now. Last season they controlled games. This season, they showed they knew how to manage games and at the same time score goals. This team is perfect. At least the manager certainly thinks so.
We are going to follow the same line. We don't need a lot of players because there is very difficult to find the right players to play in our team.
For Luis Enrique, it's impossible to make any changes to this team because there is nothing to change. No one would change. If they continue the evolution, then the question won't be whether PSG can win another Champions League title. The question will be, can anyone stop them? For months, it looked like it would be Arsenal lifting that title in Budapest. They finished the Champions League season without losing a single game. They finally ended their 22-year wait for a league title. Click the next video to find out why Arsenal look like winning everything this season.